Let's speak with Jamie Waller, founder and chairman of Just, a body that promotes the fair treatment of debtors. Afternoon to you, Jamie.
Afternoon, Ian.
Good to have you with us. So just explain them. I mean, what are the options? It's very difficult, isn't it? Somebody is owed 5 months' rent. I said to Caitlin there, not every property owner is a multi-billionaire property magnate. They might just have one house that they've used as a kind of pension scheme or a way of earning extra money. It's now costing them money. How are they supposed to deal with that if they want their money back, of course?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Ian. And, we have always said everybody has the right to be paid what they are owed, but not at any cost. And I think that's the key part, The enforcement of debt has to change in a world post or even during COVID-19. The days of very quick enforcement action leading to people being evicted or to losing their assets, it just has to change. It should have changed years ago. COVID-19 is a really good opportunity for us to step back, look at how it's delivered and see what we can do to make it a bit more fairer.
Yeah, I mean, you know this world well. Your organisation Just, promoting fair treatment of debtors. I mean, that's a... Man alive, I mean, I'd hate to be out on the van, Jamie, when someone is going to collect a debt. I mean, how does that work? Because, we're all humans, even debt collectors. What is the correct approach, particularly against the backdrop of coronavirus where people are genuinely struggling?
Well, the correct approach is to start doing things virtually, Ian. So we have spent since March lobbying government to accept that actually a bailiff can do a visit like this on a Zoom call or on a Teams call when the debtor consents. So when a debtor makes contact and says, look, I'm really sorry, I just want to resolve this, rather than sending the bailiff and the distress that causes, and also the additional costs of that gets applied on top of the debt to the debtor, why don't you say to them, okay, we'll send you a link, set up a diary appointment, we'll engage with you, we'll secure a payment plan against some of your assets, and we will work with you to get through this situation. That's for the benefit of the creditor and the debtor alike. So we want to see a world from Monday where bailiff visits, when permitted and when suitable, are held virtually. And when they're held virtually, they're held for free. No additional cost to the debtor. That's really important. Yeah. And there's a number of reasons. I don't need to spell out why that makes good sense. But one of the important things that I'm really concerned about is about 80% of the bailiffs in the country are self-employed. And a lot of them were not captured by the government's help schemes in various ways. So what we will see from Monday, and I don't think anybody has really given it full consideration, is you will see financially vulnerable bailiffs visiting financially vulnerable debtors. That is a recipe for disaster. Yes. We will see a tsunami of debt and a tsunami of complaints. We have to change.
Are the government listening to your advice, Jamie? Because everything you've just said there makes perfect sense. It's a futile journey to carry out debt collecting if somebody genuinely hasn't got it, and if you're only doing it because your company is absolutely skint as well, then, as you say, it's a recipe for disaster. But are those in charge listening to this?
Well, the government listen. The problem with government is they don't act very fast. So, they know it's a good idea. They've said it's a good idea. But what they do is they sit on the fence. They say, well, virtual enforcement visits, we can see that it's permitted in law. But, but also it's not really, it was never thought of. I mean, of course it wasn't thought of. Some of the regulations are over 500 years old. We didn't have video technology 500 years ago. The real problem, actually, Ian, is the trade associations. And I will get shot for saying this, but it's the truth. Trade associations, they're member associations, they represent their members, and they face off to government with a lot of power and strength. But what they are frightened of is when an organization comes along like us and says, we could do this for free and take the stress away from the debtor and reduce the fees passed on to the debtor, that equals less revenue for their members, and they're protective of that. Yeah. So they are getting in the way, they are being a pain, but we continue to push to overcome that.
And just a final point, and you kind of touched on it, Jamie, and we've spoken about this before, I know, in terms of communication, that is key, isn't it? If somebody owes money, staying quiet, refusing to open the door, not opening letters, doesn't take you anywhere. You've got to get into a dialogue, and as you say, in the current climate, that can be done digitally, but a dialogue has to happen.
It does. Just burying your head in the sand is not the response. But to get people to engage, they have to trust that the people they're going to engage with are not going to penalise them for doing so. And that puts the pressure right back on people like ourselves to make sure that we are doing the right thing.
Jamie, it's always good to talk. Thank you for your time. That's Jamie Waller, founder and chairman of Just, a body that promotes the fair treatment of debtors. It's not, of course, a criminal offence to be in debt, but it's the worst kind of feeling, knowing that you owe somebody money and you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And at the moment, I know some people have been having it off royally and thinking, I'm just not going to pay it. I'll deal with it when the time comes. And now here you are. The time has come and you owe 5 months' rent. That's not a pretty picture. And it's probably, in most cases, I'm pretty sure, not someone's own fault. They didn't set out to do that. There's going to be those people, of course, who just thought, yeah, let's see how we can get away with this. But he's right. Jamie Waller is right. You've got to get into a dialogue with the bailiff people. The craziest thing about that is that, of course, you owe somebody 200 quid. A bailiff knocks on your door. They charge you 150 quid for coming to knock on your door. So straight away, you owe 450 quid. And you think, well, I can't pay that. 2 weeks later, the bailiff comes back, another 150 quid. I mean, this is a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense. We did a protest a few years ago, me and a mate, when we were students living together, which resulted, I won't go into the details, resulted in the bailiff turning up. I've never seen a man so low. He was actually wider than the van he was driving. He was terrifying. I don't know how he got in the van. It was like breaking the law of physics somehow. Anyway, we ended up with, we had to pay the money that was owed. And we went down to the magistrate's court where you could pay what you owed. And I remember saying to the guy behind there, I said, it's a terrible old life. This is the bailiffs turning up, taking. He said, no, it's a great industry, mate. You can become a millionaire as a bailiff. I wasn't really looking for wisdom about the glories and the benefits of being a bailiff or setting up a company to take people's flat screens out of their houses. I was more talking about the other side of it. If you're the victim or on the receiving end, the kids, you imagine that the kids are there and some burly bloke and his oppos show up to take away your TV. And I don't know what's that worth over there? As a pushchair. Can we take that?